Next to Kodachrome, Kodak Tri-X is one of the most iconic film stocks of the 20th century, remaining in production today more than 80 years later. It's a film that has been a favorite among photographers across different styles and disciplines for decades. But why? What makes this 400 ISO film stock so special? Kodak Tri-X 400 is a high-speed, black and white negative film, made up of a panchromatic emulsion with classic cubic grain with wide exposure latitude and suitability for push processing. It's available in 35mm cassette and 120 roll formats, as well as in various sizes of sheet film and bulk 100-meter 35mm rolls. The 35mm and 120 versions have a nominal sensitivity of 400 ISO, and the sheet film version is 320 ISO. I don't know the reason for the sheet film formats having a different speed, but both share one datasheet. Currently, at least as of recording, the film is also pretty cheap compared to Kodak's other offerings. It's $11.99 on B&H Photo for the 36 exposure cassettes. Kodak has been manufacturing Tri-X for more than 80 years at this point. The film first appeared when Kodak brought it onto the market as one of their first truly high-speed film stocks in 1940. The film originally released with an ASA of 200, which for 1940 was astronomically high. The film was originally only available in sheet film formats for large format photography. It wasn't until 14 years later in 1954 that Kodak would reformulate this film for 35mm cassettes and 120 medium format rolls. That's the same year that Leica brought the original Leica M rangefinder onto the market, the Leica M3. Since its launch nearly 84 years ago, Kodak has reformulated Tri-X a handful of times, notably in 2007 as part of Kodak's efforts to reformulate most of the film stocks in their catalog at that time. I've had Kodak Tri-X 400 in my rotation for quite a while now, and it's been one of my favorite go-to film stocks for just about any type of situation, especially if I'm not sure what the lighting is going to be like when I'm taking pictures. I've always been super pleased with the results that I've gotten off of this film stock. Having 400 ISO has been super handy. All of the images that I'm going to show you in this video were taken with my Nikon FM, together with various Nikkor lenses. The rolls of film for this video were sent off to the darkroom lab for processing, and even though I had these particular images lab developed, I still scanned the images myself, and I can confirm that this film is super easy to develop and responds very well to different types of chemistry. Now, some of the images are going to be at 400 ISO, and some of them were taken on rolls of film that I pushed a stop or two beyond that, and I'm going to make sure to mark those for you so that you always know which one is which. Some films shout and others whisper. Kodak Tri-X is certainly a film stock that shouts. Tri-X has very strong and well-defined characteristics. The contrast is quite intense throughout the entire tonal range. I once saw Tri-X described as looking like a charcoal on charcoal drawing, and I can see where that statement came from. Dynamic range is one area where Tri-X holds up very well in particular, maintaining excellent shadow and highlight details in the most challenging lighting conditions. I'm always satisfied with the amount of information stored in the negatives. The grain of Tri-X is quite pronounced and increases significantly with each stop that the film is pushed. If grain isn't your friend, you might want to look somewhere else. However, despite the strong grain, both sharpness and resolution are quite adequate with this film stock. Tri-X is capable of capturing fine detail with decent clarity, and when paired with a sharp lens and good chemistry, more than sharp enough for my taste. If I had one complaint, it would be that I find that Tri-X lacks somewhat in the mid-tones. Other films like Hilford HP5 Plus, for example, have significantly higher mid-tone tonality. Tri-X looks somewhat limited to me. I would find it impossible to make a video about Kodak Tri-X without addressing the elephant in the room, and that is Kodak's 2007 reformulation of this film stock. They reformulated this film as part of a mass reformulation of their catalog that year. Now, there are some suggestions that say that the film was reformulated in order to make it cheaper to produce. Other evidence points to the fact that the reformulation was done due to certain chemistry being no longer available or no longer environmentally viable. So it was basically to make the film more environmentally safe so they could continue manufacturing and selling it. Either way, the film was reworked and the emulsion was redone, supposedly pretty much from the ground up. There is some suggestion as well that some of the silver content was taken out, which would have a negative effect on the characteristics of this film stock. Now, I unfortunately never got to try the original Tri-X. I only ever got to use the new Tri-X. And to my eyes, the images that come off of this new Tri-X have that same sort of character and evoke the same look that classic images that I've seen that were taken on Tri-X also shared. So to me, it looks like the new Tri-X is still very much faithful to the original characteristics of the older Tri-X. Even if the grain is perhaps a little bit finer, it's definitely something that a lot of people have noted, that the more modern Tri-X has grain that's closer to Ilford HP5, which is a little bit finer and smoother, whereas the original grain was maybe a little bit more noticeable and more pronounced. Either way, I still think that this film stock stands true to what it originally was. It's still a film stock that responds very well to different lighting conditions. It's incredibly pushable, and it still has a fantastic, gritty, and robust look, which are all things that made the original Tri-X Tri-X. This film handles push processing really, really well. I've personally pushed the film to 800 and 1600 ISO and have always been pleased with the results. I have seen other photographers push the film beyond that to 3200 and 6400 ISO with equally wonderful results. Unlike other film stocks, Tri-X uniquely maintains a consistent contrast even as you push process it. The grain does noticeably increase, however, but the rest of the image holds and remains consistent no matter how many stops you push this film. But I think it's all of these reasons that makes Kodak Tri-X 400 so special. It's a fantastic and beautiful film stock that is suitable for just about any style and any type of photography in any sort of conditions. I've never encountered a film stock that can be pushed as well as this film. You can just push it and then push it some more, and always rest assured that you're going to get a fantastic result. This film lends images a beautiful, weathered, gritty, otherworldly, textured look that, again, I've never seen another film stock pull off quite this well. It's a film stock that I really, really enjoy shooting, and thankfully, it's one of the least expensive ones in Kodak's catalog. It's a film stock that I can heartily recommend to just about anyone for any type of photography. And after having been around for more than 80 years, this film seriously deserves its recognition for being an iconic piece of photographic history and an iconic film stock that we can continue to enjoy today, and I hope for many years to come.